Hey guys, right, welcome to another video. I've bought another car. It didn't start off looking like this, I'll be honest. I did actually drive it home, but it's a rock box and I can't be bothered to fix another rusty car. As you know, we've still got the 36 to sort out. That needs a lot of welding. So it's a 2.8 manual pre-facelift wide body Z3 with factory LSD. Pretty damn cool car. It's black, it's got electric roof, all the goodies, but it's been sat for like 2.5 years. Drove it back, it's a bit of a dog, and then when I had a good look over it, the thing's rotten. So unfortunately she's getting chopped up. Anyway, it's not going to be a restoration video or anything like that, so don't get too excited, but I figured I'd show you a quick video of it and then maybe pull a few bits and pieces off it. So yeah, let's get into it. We'll rip the drivetrain out and show you how to do that. So yeah, I would really have liked to save this, but I'm going to show you just how rusty it is. Holy, more holy, very holy, more holy, more holy. These do actually bolt on and off on the Z3, so you could replace them. They're really common to rust. They're not like a normal seal on most cars. The outer seal actually bolts on and off, but by the time we've done that, the inner seals on this are quite bad. So I think the best thing for it, unfortunately, is to chop some bits off it and make some money to put into other projects. So she's a good running car. If anyone needs a good healthy 2.8, dual van off 2.8, it's good for like E36s, E46, all that kind of stuff. So if anyone's interested, she runs fine. Starts on the button. Lovely job. So as good as gold. Anyway, that's enough of that. But yeah, I've got no use for the engine, but there's a few other bits and pieces I need. So, but yeah, I've ripped the whole front end off already. Well, all the arms and stuff. I sold all the arms. Front bumper and stuff's gone. So it's literally just the drivetrain to rip off or rip out. So yeah, we'll show you how to do that. First things first, obviously, is get it jacked up nice and high. Front straight on the subframe. If you can see that. And then we can put an axle stand either side, and then we'll do the same on the rear. Right, the front's up. I've just put the axle stands on either chassis rail, and then that gets that nice and high. And then at the back, all we're going to do this time is use the rear beam. I'm just going to mount that up on there. Chuck that up. And then get the axle stand under either side. Hopefully these don't fold in whilst I'm underneath it. Right, once you've got your car safe and secure, let's give it the old wobble test. Yeah, she's good. Right, so before we take anything off the actual car, give it a wobble test. Yeah, she's good. Right, so your centre console isn't going to be out like mine, but I'm breaking the car, so hence taking the centre console out. But essentially, we want to release the handbrake cables first. There's two of them, one either side on the mechanism. They've got really random size nuts on, a 9mm locking nut, and then a 12mm. So whip those off first. Make sure you keep these, because usually when you buy new handbrake cables you don't get replacement nuts, so I would recommend keeping a hold of them. And then repeat on the other side on that one. Hey, 22 mil. Right, your next piece of the puzzle to come off is your cross brace. So these are a nice bit of kit. If you're watching this because you want to see a Z3 pulled apart, you'll be familiar with these anyway. If you've got an E36, they don't come with these as standard, they only came with them on the convertibles and the M3. So if you've got a non-M or non-convertible E36, these are a good upgrade. So the stock E36 bar looks like that, pretty flimsy. And then you can run one of these. These are pretty cheap, these are about 50-60 quid second hand. Front fixings go into the same point as you can see, but the rear ones mount into the subframe. So you either need to run the Z3 subframe, but even easier than that is just to run some riv nuts into the subframe, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can run that, and that stiffens up your front end even further. So yeah, whip that off next. That's 6 bolts, 2 up there, 4 at the bottom. And then the next job, we're going to take the exhaust off. Thankfully on the compact, or the Z3s, it's pretty short, but these bolts probably have never been off, as you can see there. So we're going to soak them up in lube, and then probably end up smashing on some sockets and undoing them, because they are obviously going to round off. So yeah, fun. Right, that was a failure. Every single one of those bolts is shot and seized, never been off. If this was your own car, and obviously you want to put the exhaust back on in one piece, you'd need to get a set of nut extractors or whatever they are. I think Irwin do a set, smash them on and they come free. Another trick you can do is you can put a slit in the outside of the flange, and that takes some pressure off, and then you can usually get them free. But literally every single one of these will not budge, and I'm not in the mood to fight. So all we're going to do is we're going to cut the exhaust just in front of the cats, and then this will come out when we pull the engine out. So cut through the bottom side of the cat, so I'm just going to pull it off the hangers. You've got one there, and then I believe there's one up there, and I think there's one here, usually on the back, but I'm assuming someone couldn't get off at some point and put a rip saw straight through here, because that doesn't look OEM. I'm not sure they shipped them with the jaggedy. So yeah, someone's already had some fun with the exhaust. Either that or it snapped off maybe, but yeah, it shouldn't be like that. But that makes my life easier anyway. So we've just got 2 mounts to pull off. Then we've got a gearbox mount here. These are 13s from memory. If we whip that off, the engine, well, there should be enough flex, and then cut right through the cats. And then we should be able to bang the grinder through the rest of that and cut them off. That wasn't fun with just a hand grinder. Basically cut through as best I can, sort of hacked them apart. And then when I got on the end and just twisted it, so that's that done. Just got the O2 sensors, a couple of O2 sensors. These are the post cut ones. So these will either get scrapped, or usually they get scrapped, but what we're going to do is this car, I haven't got any video footage of it, but the cats that came off this coupe are completely damaged and blown through, and rather than buying the ones off eBay which are crap, I'm going to weld these lovely, good condition hopefully. See if we can see in there. Don't think you'll be able to see in there, but yeah, weld these nice healthy cats into the exhaust for the coupe. So now we should have a lot more room to get this off. You've got a few brake lines, you've got a flexi there which you'll need to disconnect, obviously one on the other side. You've got your anti-roll bar. You can either disconnect it from the arm or you can actually disconnect it from the body. So you've got two of those either side, they'll be 13 mils. You've got your brake line flexis, two of them. You've got your bottom shock mount, 18 mil. And then the last thing is drop the actual subframe mounts out, so there's two of them up there. The last job is the prop. So you can either split it there, just inside the prop, inside the subframe, or what we'll probably do is we will drop the centre bearing down behind this heat shield and pull the prop apart, because the front half will split from the rear quite nicely. So yeah, let's get stuck into that. Oh, and also you've got this one bolt on the back of the diff to the floor. Okay, so I've just pulled this heat shield off as well. You might have noticed that it's gone, just for ease of access. So we've also got a speed sensor to unplug. That's dead easy. But it's just worth having a look at the diff mount. Obviously this car's going to be scrapped, so I'm not really worried about it, but it might be something to consider if you've got a Z3. They are notorious for splitting these boot floors apart. Everyone knows E46 M3 suffers with the boot floors tearing themselves apart, but if you look at the Z3, it's already in the process of it. Okay, the access is quite a lot easier, but if you look, all of these spot welds have obviously moved because the paint has blistered and it's turned to rust. So all of this floor, it looks like pretty much you've got the mount itself, which is easy to sort, but then you've got this big panel that goes across here, and all of these little spot welds, you can see the paint's chipped. So the whole floor in this thing is moving. Obviously it's done high mileage, and you know, it's kind of to be expected a little bit, I guess, but just worth thinking about if you're going to do a restoration on one of these. Have a look at this and make sure you address it. I believe there's a company out there, I don't know who makes them, but I believe there's a company that makes a reinforcement, so you can change this to a double-eared diff cover to spread the loads. You've got a pickup point there and on this side, which might be a good idea if you're running big power or whatever. But yeah, just worth having a look at that, have a good inspection, because obviously there is definitely movement there. It's been flexing. It's only spot welded, so it's not the greatest. And also super common, the diff bush is shot. So really common on these. I sell absolutely tons of these Powerflex bushes on the compacts and the Z3s. It's pretty much the first bush on the rear end which goes, as you can tell. It's taking a beating. So yeah, that will need changing for anyone who's doing one of these. But yeah, next job, now that's off, I'm gonna whip this off, undo these two bolts here. We need to free off the brake lines. We'll probably just cut them above the flexis because we don't need the brake lines. A couple of ABS sensors to unplug, and yeah, just the prop and the beam. Nearly there. It's 18 mil. Oh look, someone's copper greased it. Side. Next up, we're going to take the anti-roll bar off. Oh, that seems a bit crusty. A crusty 13 mil, I might add. Same on this side. you know what? If you haven't got one of these, go and buy one. They're only about 70 or 80 quid on eBay. This is a cheap seedy one. They are the bee's knees. It's not got tons of torque, so if a bolt's really tight, it won't break it free. I usually do that with a bar or manually do it, but speed up, stripping things, putting things back together, total godsend. Probably the best tool I've ever bought. It's tiny, so it fits everywhere, so definitely recommend one of those. Right, that's the anti-roll bar undone. Although it doesn't want to move. See if we can persuade it. Right. Come on. There we go. Hey, right, there's the anti-roll bar free. Springs are still stuck in there, but that's fine. Right, next job. Big diff bolt. What size is that? 19? Hey, 19. So the diff bolt's 19mm. Happy days. So that's a diff free, anti-roll bar free, trailing arms free. So I'll let our springs have come out. Get them out of the way. Pad wear sensor, ABS sensor. Little tab on there. Same on that one. That's free. So pad wear sensor just on the driver's side, and then ABS sensors on both sides. Right, our next job, gonna move this mid heat shield. It's held on with 10mm washers. Right, next up, centre bearing. So these are quite clever. Hopefully you can see in the light. It's got it's a two-piece prop, and it's splined here. The front half will just slide out of the rear half usually. So the plan is I'm going to drop these two 13mm bolts down, one there, and then it should just dangle down. And once we drop the prop, drop the beam, pull the beam back, it should just slide off this. So yeah, pretty simple. If you ever split one of these, notice how it's got a balancing mark, a bit of Tip-X, so hopefully you can see that. They are supposedly balanced from the factory, so if you ever split one, when you put it back together, make sure you line it up. And also don't forget, if you're going to reinstall the centre bearing or put a new one on, you just want to mark around here and around here so that it goes back in the right place, as there is adjustment in it. It needs to be preloaded, I believe. Right, and then that's free, and then that should slide out of there when we need it to. But this guy is a 24mm. Next job, we're going to set up the jack under the diff. So I forgot these, but on either side, once you've taken that off, there is actually two, I don't know if you can see them on camera, but there's two 13mm that live in here. So if we pop off this little plastic shield, hopefully, and there's an 8mm on it as well, but we don't want this. So honestly, like every other bolt I've touched, it's been shot. Where is it? It's up there. Oh, it's a total joke. So I'm now gonna have to cut them off somehow. Well, the easiest way would be just to zip through this plate and then get the frame out. But if this was your own car and you were trying to do a restoration or something, a car that doesn't look that bad outside, like that, or that, no, it's pretty rusty. But yeah, absolute nightmare, made of cheese. So I guess we'll fire up the grinder and whip that off. I got bored with the grinder, it's shit doing it on the floor, so took the arc liner out and we're going for the brute force method. Put a relief cut in it and then bend it down out of the way. Again, this would be a total nightmare if you were trying to actually do this car properly or like restore it. So many crusty bolts. Hopefully this one comes apart. Right, that's the first one out. Woohoo! In theory, just drop that down and the beam doesn't come out. Nice. Right, you've got a weird technique for these because they've only got like 2 pins that hold the frame on. If you just drop the jack down, they sort of hang off the pin. So what you want to do is jack the back of the diff and the front of the frame will sort of fall down, and then just keep going, and then she should just cut the flexies. Quickest way for me, catch the fluid in the old container. Right, I just need this to let go now. Oh, we've still got handbrake cables as well. Right, last but not least, you've got these 2 handbrake cables. They both live up there. They can be quite tricky. They get stuck in there. It's like a push fit, so just yank on them. Be careful because sometimes they flip back and smash in the place. So just watch out for that. But yeah, they just pull out, and obviously then the prop, that's doing its thing up there. So that's freed off. That just pulls itself out. So. And then all you're left with is your subframe with diff, shafts, everything bolted to it, and the chassis. So obviously if you're doing a proper overhaul of the chassis, you'd probably be a little bit careful with a few more bits, i.e. not just cutting through shit because it's easy and quick. But yeah, and same with this, you probably could have reused those brake lines if you wanted. But yeah, it's going in the scrap, so not too worried. But all of the hard lines on this actually look pretty reasonable. I don't know if someone's changed them at some point. I think the flexies have been changed because they look far too good considering the rust on the rest of the car. But yeah, that's that. So that's the rear end out. Got a few more bits and pieces to strip off it from the interior, and then we'll pull the engine and stuff out in another video. But as you've seen, it don't take long to pull the engine out. We've got a few goodies for the 36. We've got the cats, they're going on there. Cross brace that we pulled off from the underside, that will be going on there. And we'll have the battery off this because it's got a lovely battery on it, and I ain't got a battery for this. So that's the main reason I bought this, because it had a few bits and pieces that I needed. And by the time you go and buy all this stuff individually, by the time I buy the cats, the cross brace and the battery, you're probably spending what, 400 or 500 quid. The whole car only cost me 800 quid, and I literally drove it home. So it's a good little way of making a bit of money, but also it's a good way of getting parts. So once this is all broke up, I should be able to make a bit of profit, and get a whole load of bits and pieces that I need for next to nothing. These Z3s are good cars, they give up loads of good bits. All the brakes are the same as E36, from 318IS up to 328, so decent little upgrade. The rear is a good upgrade for compacts because they all have disc rear trailer arms. A lot of the compacts have drums, so it's a decent little upgrade. This is also a wide body, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, so it's got wider rear arms, so ideal for drift cars, stuff that you want to put over fenders on, shit like that. So obviously all of it needs a good overhaul. It will need new bushes and whatnot, but the Z3 is a really cool car. It's got those good bits. They like silly little stuff, like they put extra bracing on the rear arms, so that's a nice touch. The rear end's got an LSD, so that's pretty desirable. So yeah, good parts to own a car. So if you ever get offered one and you've got the space to break a car, definitely, if the price is right, then it's well worth doing. Lots of goodies on them, lots of good cool rare stuff. They're actually quite good cars as well, so if you want one to drive, I'd recommend driving one. Super fun. They're a bit lighter, and the wheelbase is actually shorter than an E36, so less weight, lighter. So the wheelbase is actually shorter than 36, so less weight, lighter, just generally a good fun car. And obviously they all come with LSDs as well. So, and this one's manual. So, you know, to buy a rear wheel drive car, there's not many rear wheel drive cars you can buy that are manual, come with an LSD out of the box, 6-cylinder engine, obviously tons of engine variants. So yeah, would recommend buying one if you want a cheap fun road car, or even a budget track car. Pretty good. But yeah, this one's getting chopped up, so keep an eye out for the next video. Rip the engine out and then get rid of it, and then back to the 36. Peace.